Hello, 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 Chicago Bears fans. Welcome to the Bears Den podcast. And we got a victory today over our heated rivals, the Green Bay Packers. I am your host, Andy. We have a great show lined up for you today. All we're going to talk about is the game today. Me and Clarence are here. We're in the house. Tuesday, we will do a show and we will reflect on the season. But today, it's just about getting this huge monkey off of our backs. So we have defeated the Green Bay Packers. So, Chicago Clarence, break it down for us. What did you see on this field today?
Hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, this has been the ending of a very tumultuous,
Yes.
disappointing season. That is what sums it up in a nutshell for me. For the first time ever, you saw us fire a head coach that we have never done in our 103-year franchise. Um, but we fired one in season. We got an interim coach that I would suspect is not going to be retained. So technically, probably tomorrow he will be let go too, along with the rest of the Bear staff. Um, I don't see this as nothing but an utterly disaster. If you want to be happy about winning against the Packers, I can get with that because that's a team that had beaten us 11 straight times, and every which way that we could lose against the Packers, we have done it. Blocked field goals, penalties, um, defensive lapses. A lot of the Chris Conti game. Every way you could think of, we have lost to this team. So I guess people can say it would feel good to go into the offseason off a win. I'm satisfied that we beat the Packers, but everything is just summed up for the season for me, not just one game.
I mean, at the end of the day, I know what the Packers fans are going to say. We beat a depleted team. We beat a team that it didn't matter because they were resting players. But to me, the biggest thing is we got a huge weight off our shoulders. Next year, we don't have to go in trying to beat this streak right here. This was the streak we were facing today. So we kind of cleared the plate a little bit. We at least got a big time monkey off our back. When we had 10 straight losses, we had 11 straight losses to the Packers, 8 straight losses at Lambeau, and the biggest one, 20 straight losses on Sunday road games. So we wiped all that off the plate. And now we have a clean slate. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I think that's huge getting that stench out of our noses. I mean, we were we've been really bad this year. Like you said, I this to me is a disappointing season. It's a lost season. We thought they were at least challenged for the 7th seed at least. I mean, nobody on our show picked them to go to the play. Nobody on our show picked them to win a playoff game. We at least picked them to challenge for a number 7 seed, and we fell flat on our noses. So Chicago Clarence, I mean, anything specifically you want to say about the game today or any of the players?
Well, no, what I will say is it
What's
was
up, Craig?
good
Thank you
once
for watching. Go ahead.
once
Craig is our
Green
normal
once Green
viewer.
Bay once Green Bay went down and kicked that 55-yard field goal.
Yeah.
I thought that the game was over. We we
Yeah,
we
so did I.
we were driving and we had the lead and we get this fumble off. I think it was the fourth wide receiver screen that they called. And I'm sitting there asking myself as we was watching it why. Because number one, Caleb Williams has got to see that they were man on man press coverage. If the defense is press coverage, a wide receiver quick screen is not going to work. You need to run that play when they're giving your wide receivers 5 to 6, 7 yard cushions. Only then would that work, and then you got to get over there quickly to block it up. But DJ Moore had no chance. Even if he doesn't fumble that ball, he's going nowhere. I mean, so for the life of me, why we kept running that play was just stupid. But at the same time, it was good to see our quarterback come down there and make plays, get us in field goal range, and kick the winning field goal. It was good to see that. How many times that you can say that we've had a quarterback that is going to get us with the game on the line? He's going to get us into position to win. I mean,
That
really and
was
truly,
that was
Caleb
huge.
Williams he could very well be 2-0 against the Packers. He did it when we played him in
Yes.
Chicago. If it
Yeah,
wasn't for the
he
blocked
did.
field goal, he would be 2-0 against them. We had him dead to rights that game. So for a change, it was good to see us snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat versus the other way around. Too many times we snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory, particularly this year.
I mean, I know me, you, Lewis, Casey, we're all sitting at that table. Todd, who's not with us tonight, he's under the weather. We were all sitting at the table thinking, how are we going to lose? How are we going to lose? How are we going to mess this one up? We've got to do something wrong. There's no way we're going to win this game. I mean, but to me, the reason you drafted Caleb Williams, number one, is for that drive. He took us down there in spite of the DJ Moore, I think it was a legal formation he didn't set. We lost yardage, and then he had to convert that major third down, which was
Illegal
ironically he
shift.
threw it to DJ. Yeah, he threw it to DJ Moore,
Yeah, illegal
who
shift.
who put us in that third and long to begin with. I mean, that is why you draft that guy, is it not? I mean, what do you think of Caleb Williams this year? Is he the guy? I mean, now that we can look at all 17 games, we can look at the season. It was a wreck. It was a disaster. But we can sit here and look at all 17 games. Is he the guy?
I want to say that I hope so. That's what I
Yeah.
want to say. I want to say that I hope so, and here's why. I want to see what this team looks like with competent coaching, with competent head
Mm-hmm.
coaching. But all the way around, I want to see us with a bona fide offensive coordinator that understands formations, personnel, when to call which plays, how to attack defenses. I want to see a guy that knows how to do those four things. I want to see an offensive line coach that knows how to coach guys up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a competent offensive line being put together. So although I believe that Caleb Williams can be that guy because there are traits and things about him that we have never seen in another quarterback. However, there are decisions that he's got to make better decisions during the course of games that help us and don't put us in bad decisions. You know, the Washington game when the clock is our friend and the play call was to run the ball and he audibles to a fade in the corner of the end zone, which we all know an incomplete pass stops the clock. So those are things I want to see in-game decision, better in-game decisions being made. I want to see him discover and know what his hot route is supposed to be. Use your hot route. When you're being
Mm-hmm.
blitzed, particularly behind a bad offensive line, you got to know
Yes.
what your quick read is. You know, get the
Yes.
ball out. He takes way too many sacks because he's holding the ball too long. You know, so it's a lot of growing up for him, but he's got to be coached, man. And that's on Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. This guy's got to be coached. You've got to get somebody in there that understands offense. And I'm not saying that you got to go out there and hire a head coach that's got an offensive background, but if you hire a defensive minded head coach, then we need to know what his plans on offense is going to be. What's that guy's philosophy? What kind of offensive concepts are you going to run? Then you got to go out there and get the personnel to do it.
So let me ask you something. So Craig here, watches us regularly, and we thank you a lot, Craig. I agree with Chicago Clarence. Wow, Chicago Clarence gets love on this show. He is like, I don't know why I'm on the show. He gets love. But anyway, Caleb has proven multiple times now he can make a game-winning drive. He has been better than I expected for his rookie year. I agree with that. And given the line in front of him and the coaching changes, that's what I think is the most important thing. He has excelled in basically this is a pile of shit this year. And our boy Walker from CNG Podcast, he says he's in the house. Walker says, yes, that's why we draft him. He got 2 money drives for us. See what he says here. True. Definitely got to know where the route is. Yeah, let me talk about the offensive line. like there were so many times this year that why do we not have a hot route for the defensive line when they blitz? A hot route, a quick slant, something in the middle. Usually, when a defender vacates an area, that's the area you want to go with the ball. We hardly ever did that this year, and we continue to run screens and screens and screens. Like Getsy is still here, but I agree with you, Clarence. We got to get the right OC in here, and our boy Craig Caleb has his flaws, but with the correct coaching, is still fixable. Yeah, I agree. I think with coaching, I still think this kid has a higher ceiling than anybody in the draft that we drafted this year. That includes Jane Daniels, Bo Nix, all of them. I still think his ceiling is really high. So Chicago Clarence, Andy, you're the mastermind. Thank you, G Walker. And Clarence is the star. Yeah, you're true. But anyway, back to the game. What do you say to the? I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, Clarence. I'm going to say to you, you didn't beat us. You just beat some four-string team. We didn't care. We're going to the playoffs. You're sitting at home on the couch. It didn't matter at all. What do you say to somebody like me that comes up in your face and says that? You guys still suck. We still beat you 20 years in a row and 27 games in a row. You guys still suck. You didn't beat anybody. You beat our second stringers, and you barely beat our second stringers.
It was Green Bay's decision to go out there with backup players. And
Yeah.
let me remind him, your quarterback started. The reason why he ended up sitting down is because he got hurt. You know, he was over there flexing his hand and whatnot, and they don't want to take the chance on a game that really and truly was not going to improve. Well, it was going to improve their season because had they won, it's not necessarily going to be said that they were going to have to go play Philly. So that game was something they were going to get out of that. Number two, how many times have they played us with backups and won the game, and they was counting those games when they won?
Yeah.
You know, that streak that we had with 11 straight losses, it wasn't always because they played with their starters. They played us with backups and still beat us. I mean, let's think about the game. The Khalil Mack's first game in Chicago.
Aaron Rodgers got
Everybody
hurt.
thought
Yeah.
Everybody thought that we were going to kill Green Bay because they didn't have the left tackle, they didn't have the right tackle, and Max started off the game in a flurry. Sack Rogers had a fumble sack recovery for a touchdown, and Green Bay ended up coming back and winning that game. They counted that game. Had we blown them out, what were they going to say? Oh, well, we didn't have our left tackle, we didn't have our center, we didn't have Garza in there. All of it still counts. Jacob started that game. They decided to sit him down. At the end of the day, listen, man, at the end of the game, we want to trade players with Green Bay and be getting ready for the playoffs next week. Yes.
Yes.
But the reality is we are not there yet as a franchise. And this is on our owners, our president, and our general manager. They are the reasons why we are sitting at home instead of getting ready for the playoffs. Because I was surmised to say that this is not a 5-12 team. It's not. We had 10 straight losses after we went into our bye week, 4-2. And we have nothing but green grass ahead of us because we were playing beatable teams after that. So the fact of the matter is we rolled into Washington winning that game, and it was bad coaching that cost us. That permeated itself the following week and the following after that. So what I'm saying is they have got to get it right in Hollis Hall. First of all, you give everybody, all the coaching staff, they walking papers. Thank you, but no thank you. We were on G Walker's show earlier today. I didn't get a chance to respond to somebody who had called or had made a comment about me saying that this coaching staff and Thomas Brown was incompetent. Anybody who can say anything different, you ain't got to agree with me. Just watch the games. Because if you watch the Bears play 17 games, and I'm talking about from training camp, because we were on Hog Knots this year, from training camp on the way in, there is no way that you can legitimately say that this team wasn't poorly coached. And when I say that the team is being incompetent, I'm talking about certain times of the year. I'm talking about game decisions. When we don't call a timeout against Detroit on Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
is that not incompetent?
Yeah. That's brain
When
dead.
you got two competent running backs, one of them who makes his living breaking tackles, and you decide on the goal line to give the ball to a backup center instead of your running back when you've been using that said center as a fullback and blocking for your guy, is that not incompetence?
It
When
is.
you don't call a timeout, when you know that the opposing quarterback, cannot throw a 67 or 68-yard Hail Mary pass, but you allow him to complete a 13-yard pass and then make his Hail Mary pass even more easier to make, is that not incompetence? So don't argue with me when I'm sitting here spewing facts. You can say, oh, well, the team won this game and they was happy for Thomas Brown. I call bullshit. You know why? Because the Packers have beaten us 11 straight times. We were in the midst of a 10-game losing streak. Players got pride too, even though a lot of the times during the season, they didn't always play like they did, but they were probably tired of losing to the Green Bay Packers. All these guys are booked to go to the Dominican Republic and Cancun and Punta Cana. All they thinking about is
Yeah.
vacation. And you beat the team that always rubs it in your face. And they have beaten you for 11 straight times. And you finally beat a game that you almost lost because you turned the ball over. So what I'm trying to say is, this team and the incompetence surrounding all the way up to ownership is the
Yep.
reason why we find ourselves in the situation that we are in today. If people want to be happy about beating the Green Bay Packers, whatever. Because I got bowling teammates that I don't have to hear their mouth tomorrow. But I guarantee you, I guarantee you they're going to say, "Oh, we're in the playoffs and you're not." You're right.
Yes, they will.
You're probably
They
gonna
will.
you're probably gonna lose to the Philadelphia Eagles, but whatever. We want to be in the situation that the Green Bay Packers are in because they go to the playoffs every single year.
I agree. That's what I want. I don't want a flash in the pan. Oh, we won the NFC North. We double doinked out of the playoffs. Then we're not in the playoffs for how many years? We made it to the Super Bowl against the Colts. Then we were out of the playoffs for how many years? Even when we won the Super Bowl, we didn't follow it up with nothing. I want what Green Bay has and what Detroit is building. I want a long, sustained run. And we have the quarterback. Hopefully, we have the quarterback in place that can do that. We just need the right coach, the right staff. We need a culture change. We need a
That's
culture
what I that's what
change.
I that's what I've
Yes.
been saying. 5 years
That's
ago,
yes.
5 years
A
ago,
culture
you
shift.
wouldn't have been able to argue that the Detroit Lions was the
They
worst
were the laughing
franchise in
stock.
football.
0-16. 0-16.
You know, year in and year out, that team lost.
Yeah,
But
that was an automatic win.
they got
Go ahead.
competency in the owner's box. The owner, for all intents and purposes, took over the team and she got out the way. She went and hired football people. And they went and hired Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell quickly changed the culture in the locker room to where people started to believe that they were going to be a part of something. They went and got a quarterback that was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams. He took them to the Super Bowl, but got to the point to where they didn't even want him anymore. And Jared Goff. And Jared Goff has transformed that team into a NFC powerhouse because that's what they are right now. They're the best
Yes.
team in the NFC. And they're going to prove it
Yes.
tonight when they beat the Minnesota Vikings. But they're the best
Woo.
team in the NFC.
Woo.
And they have the mentality of next man up because they have gone through injury after injury after injury, and they make no excuses. The next person gets in there and they produce. So the reason why I brought them up is we have done the absolute opposite in Chicago.
Yes, we
We
have.
let the Detroit Lions come in and pass us, and they are way ahead
Yeah.
of
by
us as a
miles.
franchise right now. They are way ahead. And you know why? It's because They have a winning culture in a locker room, and we have none. Because you continue to make bad hire after bad hire after bad hire after bad hire. It is time that you go in there and you get a head coach that can come in here and change the culture. And every time that there's somebody right there for the taking, you turn around and let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And everybody
We do.
who listens to us every week may be tired of hearing it, but damn it, I told you if this happened, I was going to keep on saying it. We should have hired Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. we
Because
should've.
everything that I said happened down there in Los Angeles. He went in there, he changed the culture. Because might I had the LA Chargers that have had 2 head coaches within the same realm that we have had. They
Brandon
fired
Staley was
Brandon
one.
Staley.
I-
They went and they
I'd have to
fired
look it
him.
up.
The other guy was I can't remember. The black guy, he escapes my mind, but he was before
Lynn.
Brandon Staley.
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony
was it
Lynn.
not?
Anthony Lynn. Yep, Anthony Lynn. So they hired Anthony Lynn, and then they hired Staley, and they fired both of them. They get Harbaugh in there and look at the Chargers right
Yeah.
now. Now, they're not a powerhouse right now. And I would tell you, I would be a little surprised if they actually made it past the first round. They don't have everything that they need right now. But just think
No.
about what happened to this team last year. Their 2 top wideouts are no longer on the team, in Williams and
No.
Allen. Allen plays for us. And I thought they were going to struggle because it was like, who are they going to throw the ball to? But when you get a guy that comes in there and he builds the team up right, and you start at the offensive line by drafting Joe Alt, and you protect your quarterback, you give him time. When you got a competent quarterback, you give him time to make decisions, get the ball out to the right people, and you give him good coaching. This is what happens to you. Look at the Washington Commanders. Ron Rivera was their head coach last year.
Yes.
They were a
he
mess.
was. Yeah.
They were a mess. You get you a new head coach, you get you a quarterback, and look at them now. They have
That's 2
they have
guys.
passed us, and they picked after us in the
And
draft.
that's 2 guys. And that's 2 guys we interviewed, and we didn't go with either one of them, Dan Quinn or Kingsbury. We interviewed both of those
Dan
guys.
Quinn, it was Dan Quinn, Matt Eberflus, and Jim
Yeah.
Caldwell. They were our finalists. They were our finalists. So you
Yes.
had 3 guys, and for the life of me, I don't even know why Jim Caldwell was a finalist, but whatever. But you decided to give the job to Matt Eberflus, and the rest is history. You know, I
Yes.
don't want them to get so stuck on Ben Johnson because you like the way he calls offenses. That is not proof that he can do the job. You got to get a guy who knows how to control all 3 phases: special teams, defense, offense. He's got to be paying attention. He's the one that's got the red bandana in his back pocket. You got to
Yeah.
know when it's time to challenge plays, because Matt Eberflus could not get that right. He was
won-
either challenging when he shouldn't have been, or not challenging when he should have. I mean, his record on challenges was atrocious.
we won
But
0
that's part of the
challenges here.
job. You got to be paying attention to that kind of stuff. When it's time to call timeouts at the end of the half or end of the games, and you got to know what you're doing. You can't do
Mhm.
that if you're sitting there worrying about what next play you're going to call. He was lost, but he was a hell of a defensive coordinator.
He's
That he
better-
was.
He was a lot better in Washington. Our defense, I couldn't believe it when I saw the stats up on the television show. Our defense has slipped in the 20s. 20th overall. We were like 25th. That's how far we've fallen off on defense. I
The
could
last
not
3
believe
games
that.
was a lot better. The
Yeah.
last 3 games was a lot better than their first 2 games.
Well, Seattle's very bad on the offensive end, so that helped us a lot. But I mean, we were bad today. We were lucky to get to. I mean, at one point in the first half, we had 57 total yards, 57, and they had something like 2. I think it was 2. I don't know, 220, 222. I mean, we were lucky.
I would have to tell you that our offense regressed more than the defense in my mind.
Yeah. That's why I can't get on board with hiring Thomas Brown. I can't do it.
No.
I didn't
Why are
see
we even talking to him?
anything. I didn't see anything that makes me believe he's the guy.
I mean, why are we even talking to him? Unless you're going to say, okay, Thomas Brown, Maybe you got a bunch of position coaches that you probably would not have wanted. How would you fix this
Yeah.
team? I would listen to
Yeah.
him. But the thing that
Yeah.
bothers me the most about him is you were in charge of the offense. You didn't have to call plays. You
Mhm.
chose to call plays as the head coach. You didn't have to call plays. And the offense to me looked just as bad, if not worse, than the previous weeks before you got taken over as the interim coach. But the offense was terrible.
Our
Missed
offense.
assignments all across the board. When your offensive lineman is so many pre-snap penalties. Why? That's preparation. That's
Yes,
coaching.
it is.
That's accountability. Because every time Mercedes Lewis drags his fat ass off the bench, he goes in there and is either false start or he's holding.
He's a guaranteed penalty a game if he's on
No
that line.
positive plays when he's
Yeah.
in the game. Every
Yeah.
single time he comes in there, he's committing a penalty.
He's guaranteed penalty. He was a guaranteed penalty. So Clarence, let me ask you, offensive line. We both agree that as the biggest outside of the coaching staff, between the lines on the field, our biggest need is offensive line. Why could we never ever get better at picking up the blitz this year? I mean, we could not pick up a blitz to save our fucking lives this year. I mean, Chris Morgan, that dude's got to go, right? He should be packing his office up tonight, right? He's got to go. No way we keep him. I mean, you don't.
Part of the problem, you're right. Part of the problem on picking up a blitz, it goes out to a couple things. Number one, number two. Your center and your quarterback are supposed to be joined in tandem with recognizing blitzing. And that's what pre-snap reads are. And it's incumbent upon your quarterback to get to the line, and you're looking for the mic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to be able to diagnose that. Is this audio that they like to play with
No, you're right, Craig. Craig said we can't pick up simple stunts. No. We were getting our ass handed to us by simple stunts or twists or loops, whatever you want to call them, all year. With a defensive end, he engages, then he comes around and goes up the A-gap. We got our ass handed to us by the most simple technique that a defensive line does is a stunt.
Well, let me address that. But what I was getting ready to say is a lot of times your center and your quarterback supposed to be diagnosing the mics before a snap, and you're adjusting your protection to that accord. But Caleb Williams is what we started off saying 15 minutes ago. Who's your hot read?
Yes.
Who are you getting the ball to when you're being blitzed? A lot of times his blitz is coming straight up the middle in his face. You can't tell me he doesn't see it, and he's holding on to the ball. Who's your hot read?
Honestly, when you watch the game, did you see a hot read built in for all these blitzed?
It
should be a quick slant to me.
Well, but we don't run quick slants.
No, we don't.
We're running curl routes, and if you got a curl route and you're gonna try to get the ball to them during the blitz, the ball's gonna get picked off, which is the reason why he holds on to it. But it's either your tight end or your running back. You should be getting the ball to one of those guys. 9 times out of 10, it's the running back. But if you're keeping your running back in to pick up blitzes, then now you're in trouble anyway. But we watch other teams do this against us all the time. When the few times we do blitz, we watched the dude down there in San Francisco. What's that quarterback's name?
Purdy.
Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy killed us.
Yes.
He absolutely took us apart when we blitzed. And we're talking about the guy who was the last person drafted, Mr. Irrelevant. And he can do it. You know why? Good coaching. Everything comes down to coaching.
Yeah. So Craig here says what we've been saying all season long. We never use slants, and we should have been. Drives him crazy as well. Yeah, I don't. To me, if pressure is constantly coming up the middle, that area should be clear. That should be your hot read. Normally, your hot read is where the blitz is coming from. That space should be empty for that ball to go. And it seems like we just do not have hot reads built into this offense.
Our offense has no imagination.
Yeah, no,
none whatsoever.
No, that's why I can't bring Thomas Brown back. I will admit the man got dealt from the bottom of the deck. He got dealt a bunch of cards where the players are quit. They've given up. The season was lost. I mean, the season was over when he became the head coach. They were already planning their trips with their families. So I cannot bring Thomas Brown back. I can't do it. Maybe I interview him, but I can't bring him back as a head coach. Even if he interviews well, I can't do it.
I don't want you interviewing me if I am not a bona fide contender. Then don't even interview me. Don't interview me just because you want to satisfy the Rooney Rule. And at this time and point, I don't want him.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you who I want, and I'm gonna give you a good reason as to why I say this. But I want a guy who understands offense.
Mm-hmm.
I want a guy who understands personnel. I want a guy who understands how to put people in proper positions to win, who holds teams accountable, who has playoff success, who has a Super Bowl ring under his belt, and who will hold people accountable. He's already proven that he can be the guy calling all the shots, meaning he's the head coach, whether he's going to call offensive plays or not. He can still handle it on the defense side as well and hold people accountable. And he's going to be a bit of a lightning rod, but so what? Will it transfer to wins on the field or not? Because that's what you want. I want Jon Gruden. And people out there who wants to say that he's a racist and whatever, do not let the NFL run a smoke screen and get you to believe in all of this stuff. Because the NFL threw him under the bus. It was about to be a big mess with the former owner of Dan Snyder, or all of his emails and stuff coming out about what he was doing and about what the owners was doing and how they was doing their businesses and how they did Colin Kaepernick. They didn't want none of that stuff to come out. So the NFL decided to hand society Jon Gruden and had him fall on the sword, unjustifiably so, ruin this man's career because they didn't want the real dirty laundry to come out. That's the reason why Jon Gruden took them to court. So at the end of the day, can Jon Gruden come in here and get this offense going? Yes, he can. He's won with lesser talented quarterbacks.
Yeah, he did. Brad Johnson comes to mind.
Yes. Can we go out there and maybe hire Robert Saleh to be our defensive coordinator? Yes. Look what happened to the Jets defense when you fired Saleh.
Yeah.
It definitely regressed. So do we have talent on this team? Yes, we do. And I'm sitting here telling you, coaching is the reason why we ended up 5-12, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't because the Bears don't have talent. It's because they failed us in giving us a competent head coach. And across the board, coaching failed this team week in and week out. And you saw it in the preparation stages because they was down there in training camp. And Ryan Poles is on record as saying he saw the offense being a problem going forward down in training camp.
So it's obvious. I think it's safe to say nobody's going to get Mike Vrabel because Jerod Mayo was fired today. So I can see him going to New England. And Craig, our boy, said, I'm not opposed to Gruden at all. He would have control of the locker room because multiple times this season our team gave up. It seemed like, I think this team quit a long time ago. That's why.
Hold on, Andy. Remember, we did a show on this.
Yeah.
We did a show and we talked about players going to coaches, going to Eberflus, talking about Shane Waldron's not holding people accountable in practices and what have you.
Yes, very early in the season.
So I mean, when you had Mercedes Lewis and Gerald Everett and some other guys going in and talking about we need to be held accountable. We got coaches, we got players that need to be held accountable. Then you see Stevenson running up the sideline, taunting fans instead of paying attention to the last play of the game that ultimately beat us. So that stuff don't happen on Jon Gruden's watch, I promise you. And if it did, Stevenson would not have played the next game. I promise you, he would not have. He would have gotten the message. So there's a certain thing called channel aggression, and you can go out there and you can be a tough minded player and be in your face, but you gotta channel it at the right time. And the time is not when you think nothing's going on and you want to taunt the fans because you came in there and beat them, and both of y'all had winning records at the time. Washington ultimately ended up going to the playoffs, and we're going to be sitting at home. Because prior to the day, we were already on I think, what, a 2-game winning streak going into that Washington game, and we hadn't won a game since.
It's hard to believe that was. I I still cannot believe that. I still cannot believe that man got up on that podium in front of microphones and said, "Not my fault, not my problem, not my fault. We were good. We didn't need timeout. Those yards didn't matter." I cannot believe to this day that man said those things on a microphone and cameras, and that just blows my mind. He would not take fault and responsibility, and that's why the team fell apart, because the coach didn't gonna hold himself accountable and responsible. Well, I mean,
Somebody's going to pick
yeah,
him up as a defensive
oh
coordinator, but
yeah,
he's going to be hard pressed to get
he's
another head
never.
coaching
I
gig
don't
because
see
people are going to look at the way he handled his
end
press
of games.
conferences and the way that he explained the bonehead decisions that he made. I mean, we say it all the time. We are everyday people who have other jobs. We don't do this for a living. But
No,
if we can diagnose and see stuff and wonder why you're not calling timeouts when the clock is ticking down and you got two with 30 something seconds left and you end up not even running another play. I mean, for God's sake, why can't you? When this is
yeah,
supposed to be your business.
yeah,
This is how you feed your family. Coaching a professional football team and you just piss it away. You were 4-2. 4-2.
yeah. And you look at all the games we could have won, could have, should have won. I mean, that's going to be our next show, our yearly review. So, Chicago Clarence. With that being said, what are your final thoughts before we sign off for today?
My final thoughts is what I started this show off saying. This has been a colossal failure
Yep.
as a football season. I've been a Chicago Bear fan since 1984, and it's the most disappointing season that I have ever had as a Chicago Bear fan. And there's a lot of them in between.
Let me ask you something before you keep going. Was this worse than the Tressman years? Because Tressman,
Yes,
I feel like, yeah, I
yes.
agree. I know Tressman's record was worse, but the expectations weren't as high.
Yeah,
So,
the
no,
expectations wasn't high because we had our shows
yeah,
this off season. We were talking about all the moves that was made. Some of them we did question, but for the most part, I remember me, you, and Todd, and I think Buck had came late, but we were sitting there watching the draft and the
hmm,
excitement that we had of
yes,
what this season could behold, what could happen. Now we at that time we thought that Poles had a plan and he was going to make
draft
some more
off,
moves for the offensive line because we were all to a man, we
yeah,
were happy about the Roma Doomsday pick.
yes,
And I won't go back on that. I was happy that, but that was with me assuming that you were going to do the obvious and do something to that line that you ultimately just did not do. You went out there and got patches and patched up this line. That's not how you do an offensive line or defensive line. It can't be patched together. It has to be built
hmm,
if you want to sustain, a running game, and if you want to be able to stop the run. I mean, hell. Anyway, I won't even go into that. I'll say that for another show. But this was a colossal failure for the Bears standpoint. It's the most disappointing season I have ever had as a Chicago Bear fan, and I'm talking about from week 1 all the way up to week 17. Now, there have been moments throughout these years that I have been really, really sick of being a Chicago Bear fan. The Cody Parkey
yeah,
field goal, the um, the play that we had where Jim McMahon gets hurt in 1986 when
yes,
we the defending champion and he gets sacked and breaks his collarbone and pretty much ends our season. The year that we went 12-4 and we lost against the Philadelphia Eagles when we were hosting a playoff game and we let Donovan McNabb and those guys come in there and beat us. You know, that year, the Super Bowl year, the Lovie Smith times. It's been a lot of years where I have the Chris Conti game
Oh, oh Lord.
where he lets we're on an all-out blitz and he lets Randall Cobb, which is supposed to be his man, it was his responsibility, run right by him and ultimately cost us the game on a 4th down and 17, and Chris Conte lets Randall Cobb run right by him. Never forget it. But this has been by far the most disappointing season as a Chicago Bear fan. When you factor in what we was hoping that would happen, looking at the talent that we had coming in, and then how we ultimately lost the games that we lost, it was just sickening.
Yeah. My final thoughts would be I agree with you 100%. This was a disaster, just a train wreck of a season. Like, it doesn't even seem like it's one season. We were 4-2. We thought we were going the right way. We thought, man, we beat Washington. We're 5-2. Then we got two really bad teams in front of us, Arizona and New England. And we lost to Washington, and we came out absolutely flat against Arizona and New England.
And both of those teams blew us out.
Yes, yeah, they embarrassed us. Yes. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon just said, good show, guys. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. We love comments and we love feedback.
Before you say anything, let me just say something. More than ever, the Chicago Bears have to get this right.
Yes, we do.
You finally got a quarterback. Then you can build on what he accomplished, because through all the nonsense that happened, this guy showed you, because he played all 17 games and he still threw for almost 3,300 yards, only 6 interceptions the whole year.
Yes.
And so you have got to go out there and finally do what's right for this team. You don't have to make it hard, but I implore you, do not fall so in love with Ben Johnson that you feel like he's going to come in here and fix all the problems that you have. It takes more than an offensive-minded head coach to come in here and do that. You are rolling the dice thinking that he can be able to fix it. But I know John Gruden can, because he has before. He has shown you that he can manage a whole football team, not just one side of the ball, which is what you're getting with Ben Johnson, because he ain't never been a head coach before. Do not fall so in love with that. Don't let all of these national pundits tell you that, it's just elementary. It just makes too much sense to hire Ben Johnson, because I was on here this time last year begging you to go get Harbaugh. You didn't listen. And then you let Belichick go down to Chapel Hill without even talking to him. You have got to get this right. Ryan Poles, you have got to pull your head out of your ass and fix this team. And it has got to start up front. I'd be damned if you go out there and draft Ashton Jeanty. If you draft Ashton Jeanty, I'm going to lose my shit. Do not draft Ashton Jeanty. We don't need another fucking running back. We need offensive linemen. We need a left tackle. We need a center. Those are the first 2 picks you should be making. First 2. Then you need to go get you an edge rusher. We don't need nobody in the secondary. We don't need another fucking linebacker. Linemen. Both sides of the ball. That's how you fix this team. But before all of that, you got to get a head coach. You got to get his ass in the room. And you have got to make sure that you know what his concepts are. What does he believe in? And then you got to build a team around that. You already got the offense part of it straightened out. You got your quarterback. You got your receivers. You got a tight end, because you paid them. So you stuck with them. Get somebody in there that knows how to run the whole show.
So, Chicago, Clarence, let me ask you. We got a few minutes left. I know what your answer is going to be. Is this the most important head coaching hire in the history of the Chicago Bears? Is this the most important one? Yes, I agree 100%.
And it's not even close. You know why? Because you finally got a quarterback. You have
Yes.
got to get somebody
I
to help
agree.
groom and bring him along. If you bring another guy in here and stunt this guy's growth, then you're going to waste him. And it's going to be another David Carr situation that was down in Houston. You're going to waste him, and everything that we got from the trade with the Carolina Panthers is going to be wasted because Caleb Williams was the center of that deal. He was the
Yes.
center of all of it. We did all of that to get him. So that's why you got to hire somebody that's going to bring his development along.
I agree. I agree. So go ahead and give us one more final thought, then we're going to sign off. Anything.
It ain't really nothing else that I can
Yeah.
add to what I've already been saying. So my final thought is going to be totally different than the Chicago Bears. I'm going to talk about my other beloved team,
Oh, hell.
which is the North Carolina Tar Heels. And Hubert Davis, I'm tired of you. I don't care that you played for the legendary Dean Smith. I don't care that you played in the NBA. I don't even care that in your first year you went to the national title game because you gave up a 15-point lead at halftime, ultimately lost that game. You had no business losing. But you wanted to go to a 3-guard lineup and it's not working because you shoot the 3 terribly and you defend it even worse. Your makeup on offense is atrocious, and they do not play defense. I don't care that you beat Notre Dame yesterday on a miracle shot. You were down 3 points with 14 seconds left in the game. You had even no business even being in that. You was up double digits, and you gave the lead away. So your philosophy on this basketball team, it might. It really bothers me. I'm tired of seeing it. I am sick and tired of watching us get run off the court. Every time we play somebody meaningful, we get our asses whooped. We gotta get us somebody else. It's time for Hubert Davis to pack his shit. I'll come help you move, but it's time for you to go.
Oh, so Clarence, we got like 5 minutes left. Anything you want to say about the? I know you're a Notre Dame fan. Anything you want to say about the playoffs? Anything at all? College playoffs?
Well, Notre Dame has found success this year, and with a pedestrian offense, their defense keeps them in games. Um, man, they're going to have to be able to throw the ball. They're playing against a tough Penn State defense, and it's going to be one of those who's going to want it more. Who's going to be able to enforce their will on the other team? But at the end of the day, I don't see anybody beating Ohio State. They look strong. They
Yeah,
toyed with Oregon,
yeah,
toyed
they
with
did.
them. You know, and the way that Texas has been playing, I don't see Texas having anything for them. But
No,
for whatever reason, if we're able to beat Penn State, and go against Ohio State, then let's go. But one thing I do know, Penn State can't beat Ohio State. Every time they get the shot, Ohio State just embarrasses them.
Ohio and Craig, our boy Craig says Ohio State has been on a complete roll. I think they will roll over Texas or run over Texas.
I
Yeah,
think
I
so
agree.
too.
Yeah,
I
I
think so.
don't.
Now, Texas got nothing for them on defense. I mean, Ohio State wide receivers are NFL ready.
Now.
I mean, Ekubon, that guy right there, he's not even the first option. And can't nobody guard that guy.
No. So my final thoughts. I echo what Chicago Clarence said. Disappointing season, a disastrous, a train wreck. It's just. The only thing we did was we made history. We fired our first ever head coach, first time
This
ever.
season.
Yeah, that's the first. That's the only. At least, and like I said, I do like getting this stench off of us. I do like ending the season on a win against the Packers. I know they had second stringers in there, whatever. It's still a win. We still get the reset. So that's all that matters to me. So until next time, guys. Thank you for watching the Bears Den podcast. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your feedback. And we'll be on again Tuesday night. We're going to do a yearly review of the season. Until next time, guys, bear down. Peace.
See you guys.